Alright, tonight I don't really got a lot of topics to talk about. We're just going to recap Thursday night's game and discuss a roster move update and also preview the upcoming series. We'll discuss that soon, coming up on this episode of the Talkin O's podcast. Hey there, Orioles fans. Today is June 12th, 2025, and welcome back into the Talkin O's podcast. As always, I'm your host, Evan, and coming on today's episode, we will be discussing Thursday night's game, discuss the upcoming series, and an update regarding Emmanuel Rivera. Starting off with the game recap, the Orioles lost 4-1. Dean Kremer had one bad inning, and the Orioles' offense was shut down. And the Tigers almost did the opposite of what the Orioles did to the Tigers on Wednesday night. If you did not see that, I think the Orioles they won 10-1 basically. And then the Tigers did the opposite of that, and they won 4-1, except it wasn't 10-1 like last night's game, aka Wednesday, if you're watching this on another day. Even though they did lose, the Orioles were putting in good work early in the game. Jordan Westburg, who was the leadoff hitter, was inches away from a leadoff double to begin the first inning, but he just missed. Tigers outfielder Kerry Carpenter made a pretty good leaping catch right in front of the right field wall to retire Westburg. In the second inning, Baltimore had two runners on base, including a Kobe Mayo walk, which is kind of rare for him at the big league level. Colton Cowser would strike out to end the inning and let Skubal off the hook. But from that point on, it was very easy for Skubal as he went on into the later innings. He faced one batter above the minimum until he was pulled, which was in the seventh inning. The only base runners he allowed from the third inning and on was a Dylan Carlson base hit, which was eventually wiped away on a Colton Cowser double play and a Ramon Laureano walk. The Orioles used three pitchers on Thursday night. Keegan Aiken served as an opener for the inning. Dean Kremer pitched the, quote, middle 7 innings, and then Andrew Kittredge pitched the 8th. Aiken was able to work around a double and a walk in the first inning to keep Detroit from scoring. Kittredge allowed a single and then stranded a runner in the 9th. Dean Kremer was very damn good tonight, except for one inning. Kremer threw 105 pitches, which was 7 more than Skubal. Kremer had a 29% whiff rate, and that was far better than Skubal's 23%. Kremer's splitter was working overtime. It made out 40% of his pitches and had a 53. I don't know what's wrong with me. Did I 53% whiff rate on it, despite his velo being down across all his pitches. Kremer was on his A game for most of it, as we could really tell. The quote bad inning I kept on talking about was in the 4th inning. What happened to that inning, you may ask? Well, Dylan Dingler hit a 1-out solo shot to give Detroit a 1-0 lead. Zach McKinstry and Javier Baez hit back-to-back singles. I don't know what's been happening with Baez, but somehow he has been able to actually hit a baseball. After that, Parker Meadows broke the game open with a 3-run home run to give Detroit a 4-0 lead over the Orioles. Following that disaster of an inning, Kremer recorded 11 consecutive outs. That streak ended with a leadoff walk in the 8th inning, but that was wiped away completely with a double and a strikeout to end the evening on a high note. Kremer wasn't used as a starter in the game at first, as Keegan Aiken was the opener, but that was probably because they were trying to hide and protect their pitcher, most likely. The only run that the Orioles scored was on a Dylan Carlson solo home run. He was perfect at the plate on Thursday, going 3 for 3 with a solo home run in the 8th inning. His season OPS now sits at 752, among the best on the team. It's hard to justify Carlson sitting on the bench when the Orioles needed offense so desperately. The Orioles did not play poorly. It was just that they got shut down. but a really good opposing pitcher. And also, a quick mention, Scuba won the AL pitching triple crown, so he was a really good pitcher, and also won the AL Cy Young Award, too. But actually, congrats on him for actually doing that. Hats off to him. They also got shut down by the Tigers bullpen as well. Moving on, let's discuss the upcoming series. The Orioles are headed into a series against the Los Angeles Angels for a 3-game series. It's not really a great time to face the Angels. They are up to second place in the AL West and are reportedly thinking about buying at this year's trade deadline. The Orioles and the Angels could be trade partners. I'd actually kind of buy that. Somehow they are actually kind of becoming good again. Because they kind of have Mike Trout, I think. I think they do have Mike Trout, unless he isn't on the IL, because he's always on the IL every single time. Every single year he's going to be on the IL. Something feels different since facing them in May, back when Brandon Hyde was the manager of Stella. You definitely remember that. I know it. The expected pitching matchup for Game 1 is Charlie Morton versus Jack Chachanwitz. I don't really know how to pronounce that because it's a very unpronounceable name. Not exactly the makings of a low-scoring duel, but they will play the game just to make sure. First pitch is 7:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Moving on, let's go ahead and discuss that thing about Emmanuel Rivera I was talking about later. Or earlier, I meant. As you may know, Rivera was DFA'd earlier this week and has cleared outright waivers and has accepted an outright assignment to Triple-A Norfolk. He will stay in the organization, though, and give the Orioles some non-roster depth. That was expected when he was bumped off the roster earlier this week. Players with at least 3 years of Major League service time have the right to reject an outright assignment and enter free agency. If they have less than 5 years of Major League service time, they have to forfeit their time... forfeit their remaining salary to exercise that right. Rivera has a bit more than 3 years of service time, however. Rivera and the Orioles avoided arbitration and agreed to a $1 million salary during the off-season. He was passed through waivers in February, though, and he could have elected free agency at the time, but he just decided to accept the outright assignment, as that kept his $1 million salary he had already, because he would have had to forfeit that. As I did say earlier, he got his roster spot back in April when Jordan Westburg hit the injured list. Rivera got 76 appearances during that time, hitting to a 232, 303, 275 slash line for a WRC plus of 70. Westburg has returned from the IL a couple days ago, but since Rivera was out of minor league options, he had to be DFA'd. Similar to his last outright, he has to accept it because so he can keep his $1 million salary. By the end of the season, Rivera might get a little bit more playtime because some players might be moved to the trade deadline, since the Orioles might be selling at the trade deadline, which is going to open more roster spots for more players, which means probably some more young players will be able to join the team. That will do it for this episode of the Talkin O podcast. I will be back tomorrow to recap Game 1 of this 3-game set against the Angels, but until then, I'm Evan, and this has been the Talkin O's podcast.